Hello everybody, IDS back again with another ranking list. This time, it's the Piraka. Now, I am a big fan of the Piraka. I love the Piraka. They are some of my favorite villains. Their introduction into the story was kind of groundbreaking for Bionicle canon. The way they introduced these characters was very cool. The concepts with them kind of play around with our expectations of how this universe works. Their implementation built on previous lore, making them feel very much of this universe while being something brand new at the time, which I think the Baraki, for example, don't do so well. Lots of back and forth in the comments on the Baraki ranking video, where the Baraki, we're just told they are, you know, warlords of kingdoms that existed. And I think we really, basically, that's about it. We don't really touch on that anymore. And, you know, and then we're just sort of told that, you know, they're all ruthless and this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, the Piraka are very much of the story that we've learned up to this point. They do key things with the Piraka that tie them to the canon that had been established at this point, making them relevant to not only just 2006, but to characters that exist in previous years. You know, it's done in a way that really settles them where they are in the grander Bionicle mythos, in a way that I don't think they did so well with the Baraki. And I mentioned in the Baraki video that you can largely tell 2007 without the Baraki, because none of their feats necessarily impact the overall story in a way that can just be told without them. Most of the battles in 2007 could be done with, for example, a larger sea creature, or you up what Max Holos was doing, or you increase what Hydraxon was doing. There's nothing really specific that the Baraki had to do that made them key to this. Meanwhile, the Piraka do a lot within 2006 that make them very integral to the story. Things that they did uniquely that can't really be discounted to a general, oh, we fought for a moment and then we carried on. Of course, there's a lot of that. Regardless, I'm speaking a lot about the Baraki here just because there was a lot of back and forth in the comments there. I think people die-hard defend the Baraki and almost shit on the Piraka, conversely. I'm not sure why people do things like that. I find if you have to defend something that you like by attacking something else, you're not defending it very well. I find this with G2 as well. You criticize aspects of G2, and the first thing is, well, it's a lot better than X, Y, and Z, and it's like, we're not talking about X, Y, and Z. Does this thing work in a vacuum? All that to say, you know, this is just a general backstory about nothing to do with the Piraka. Let me actually talk about my backstory with the Piraka. When the Piraka came out, I love this stuff. I think my internet access as a kid was really kind of upping at this point, for better or worse. So I very much was like online at this time. So when the Piraka animations dropped, it's pretty cool. It was like I was there for it. Seeing Piraka.com, seeing the police lineup, seeing all the really non-canon, you know, the Piraka Stronghold commercials with, you know, them Thoks on the couch with the hammer, all the How riding bull. Really almost comedic, but I loved those videos. Those things, I watched them on repeat. When I bought Thok, I would literally blue tack one of his spare Zamors on his face to be like the gum bubble. I love these guys. And I'm going to just say I love the Piraka rap. I know it is just not very bionically, I guess. But I just find it funny. I find it funny that despite Bionicle having no real classic rock elements to it, you know, people seem to think like, oh, Cryo Shell and this is real Bionicle music. But the rap is it's a bit urban. We don't like that with our Bionicle. Where's my rock band? That's Bionicle, despite them being Polynesian tribal warriors. I don't like this rap, but get me some emo rock. That's Bionicle. I find it funny. Now, of course, the Piraka rap is really goofy. It is very, very goofy, and of course is non-canon. But, you know, I like it. It's cornball shit, but I like it. And honestly, I like these kind of like thuggish gang of rogues. It is very new to Bionicle at this point. And again, as a Canister wave, these truly were the first non-drone wave of characters that we got as villain sets. Now, the Borok Karl technically are as well. The Borok Karl all have personalities and were individually sentient and spoke to the Toa, and they were all kind of little shitty people. They were very kind of rude and nasty to the Toa. In a sense, they were kind of the proto-Piraka, I guess. But the Borok Karl being just such massive rehashes to the Borok, which are a clone army type villain. They're a hive mind villain. Not hive mind, but you know, like they're a swarm villain. It didn't feel like that. If you weren't paying attention to the story, you wouldn't even know that the Borok Karl were individually sentient. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of kids that didn't realize that the Borok Karl had personalities and were actually like individuals. You can again tell that story. You can take out the fact that the Borok Karl could talk and had personalities from 2003, and nothing necessarily changes. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of the encyclopedias, I think maybe Makuta's Guide to the Universe, he doesn't even mention the Borok Karl. Like it's again when the personality of your villains, or the I guess the story concept of your villain, is not as important to what's actually going on. Like the major story beats can still happen with taking this out. They're not that great. So I think they just kind of get lost to time, where it's like, oh yeah, the Borok Karl, they were individual guys, right? No one cares. The Piraka were the first guys that, you know, actually had some genuine characters, individual personalities that, you know, had impact on the story. And I think that goes a long way, because they were really cool. And again, talking about like nesting them within existing lore, 2004 and 2005 we get established to the Dark Hunters. The fact that these guys are ex-Dark Hunters, again, instead of creating some new thing, which again, there's nothing wrong with creating new things, with the story, you know, things are always being created, of course, otherwise we're going to still be in 2001 and nothing new was being created. But the fact that we've got this new band, this new species, that again, basing them within an existing piece of lore helps flesh out the world and make it feel real. I spoke in the Makuta video about, I think it would have been good that the Brotherhood of Makuta, instead of making Makuta a species, if we made the Makuta just a band of existing, like, different species and stuff, it fleshes out the existing lore while giving us new stuff. The fact that these guys have origins in the Dark Hunters fleshes that out more, incorporates what was in flashback lore, which is 2004, 2005, and brings it to the modern day stuff, which is kind of where we left off in 2003, which I find really great. I also really like the Skakti as a species, because they're the first sort of characters that we get that aren't Toa and Matoran, that follow the Toa and Matoran element scheme. From some of my ranking shorts, some people were a bit surprised, like, oh, why have you not included the white Rakshi in your ice ranking? Why have you not included this in your this ranking? It's because actually not a lot of the villains were element based. Beyond the Borok, they weren't really at this point. And in fact, even the Borok, the green Borok Levac, is a Borok of acid. So Zaktan is actually really our first air-based villain as a Canister set. And the fact that technically these guys can, you know, use Kanohi, they're upright, you know, they are humanoids. It was very unique at the time. They really feel like good foils to Toa. Again, building on existing lore, the fact that, you know, with the Metro Nui years, we established that, you know, Matoran basically become Toa. That wasn't something we knew until the tail end of 2003. But the fact that it was established that, you know, Matoran become Toa, they become Toa based on their understanding of what a Toa is. So to have these guys, you know, these guys travel in Toa canisters to Voya Nui. and deceive the Matoran into thinking that they are Toa. Again, what a genius story beat, using and twisting lore that we have on their head, making them, again, they are the Anti-Toa. Fantastic. It intrinsically ties the Piraka to existing lore while showing that they are a desecration of the existing lore. Really great story integration there. Again, taking concepts that we are learning and strengthening them deeper. And then it always throws to mind the kind of very cool what-if scenario that if one of the Voya Nui Matoran had become a Toa, they would look like a Piraka. They would look like a Skakti. How bonkers is that? And, you know, I think this idea that, you know, Voya Nui is a land where everything is so bad that, you know, they're hopeless. Everything is kind of devoid of hope. So the idea that these monstrous guys show up and the native population think that finally the saviors are here. We finally get a glimmer of hope, and then they are betrayed and enslaved. It's quite tragic. Again, it is really great. And then, you know, even down to the fact that these guys are seen looting Makuta's lair. Basically, where we left off in 2003, the guys have gone through the barrier. Mangai's been kind of abandoned. That these guys are there looting a place that we've been to before. Again, nesting them within the lore that already exists. And obviously that's where Vizon happens. It's the Spear of Fusion that kind of creates Vizon from Vizok. As a kid, considering that Vizon's staff is also using a Takanuva blade and so did Makuta's staff, I understood it as he used Makuta's staff, the one from the 2003 set, which is wrong. It's actually just one of Makuta's arsenal of weapons that are there. But, you know, even things like that, there's like visual continuity, like the fact that it doesn't just feel like an ass pull, like they've come out of nowhere. They did a lot of legwork to make sure that it felt like these guys sort of existed within what came before. Like these things, we've just not met a Skakti before, but they've interacted with things that we know. And then the fact that, you know, the Toa Nuva show up and fight the Skakti and they kick their ass. Amazing. Again, we're not just tying it to 2006. They are fighting our quote-unquote main heroes as well. Again, these things tie them to the lore. You can't take the Skakti out because they touch on so many wider lore points versus just being a generic villain set that just existed on Voya Nui. And once they were defeated on Voya Nui, they don't exist anymore. It's like they are very core to what happens in 2006. And I also really, really love the concept that, you know, 2006, the Turaga, you know, everyone's on Metro Nui. The Turaga kind of know, something's wrong. Mada Nui is dying here. Let's send the Toa Nuva off on a secret mission. And the fact that, you know, while the Matoran are rebuilding Metro Nui, the kind of the key Matoran that we know, Jala and stuff, the guys that are a bit switched on, you know, they go on strike. We are not continuing the rebuilding here until we know what the hell is going on. Where are the Toa? Where are they? Like, we need answers. And then only then the Turaga kind of, you know, let them know, you know, we sent them on the secret mission. Obviously the key Matoran that we know go ahead. They do all of their adventures in Karzani, yada yada yada. Eventually they get there. I like the fact that, you know, Takanuva tries to go with them. It makes sense. While Takanuva is an honorary member of the Nuva, he truly is one of the Matoran, really. So him going with the allies to go help them, and then unfortunately being blocked by the light barrier. There's lots of cool stuff going on in the background. I really do think 2006 is such a good year. It's so rich. It's so tied to existing characters and then things that have gone on before while building on them. I can't gush over this year. I should do a video, like a 2006 appreciation video as well, in the same way that I should do a 2009 video, just because there's so much going on. And again, I think the Piraka, even if you discount the fact that they are just conniving, you know, bandits that are basically just all have individual deals with one another to screw each other over to get the mask of life. Just the way they incorporated them into the story was really good. And I found the non-canon stuff with them really charming. People found them corny. I found it funny and cool. So, yeah. I think it's very interesting that the Skakti, again, the way they implemented these guys was really cool. And yeah, you know, and I think by virtue of their spine pieces, they very much perhaps best incorporated this biomechanical feel to them. They are very cloney sets. Really, their main differences are what metallic shade they used and what foot they used. And then a lot of the personality comes down to the spine. Is that a bit of a cheat? Sure. But, you know, they are very iconic because of that. And I think that is fine. I think they are very diverse pieces. The main hindrance, I guess, of them is that they do somewhat hinder articulation, because with the arms are connected to the same piece as the head, often they move in tandem. And I'm very much an aesthetics over anything person, so I think it's a worthy sacrifice to get this look across. They were also the first wave of sets to not have gear functions, which is pretty bad. Like, to me, you've removed a core tenet of what makes Bionicle. So, but what I felt with 2006 was 2006 did what it could to kind of say, I'm sorry about that. I feel like they gave us extra functions. So 2005 sort of established that, well, the Vaki sort of established that every single set has a launcher, right? These guys all have a launcher. They could have kept it at that. But then they gave us the glow-in-the-dark teeth. They gave us the light-up eyes. They gave us brand new colors that we hadn't really ever seen in Bionicle before. I felt like they were doing extra. Same thing with the Anika, you know, with the strobe weapons and stuff. It was like, okay, we're taking away gear functions, but we're giving you other functions to make up for that, which they sort of dropped in 2007, and it was just launchers. So yeah, the light up eye Metru Stalk thing was great. Again, another parallel to the fact that the Skakti are almost like an analogous race to the Toa. I love the fact that the Skakti head is sort of based around the Metru head. The fact that you can swap out the eyes for Metru eyes is great. It gives us options. It'd be great to have got, you know, different colored eyes for these guys in different colors so we could light up. But the fact that the head is compatible and you can swap them out is great. Yeah, and again, getting a lot of these colors that didn't exist before. All of these guys have unique colors. Most of them have unique colors. Which was great. I think as well, the introduction of the metallic shades and mixing them up so it isn't just all silver was good as well. I think this is the first time gunmetal was really in a canister set, to my recollection. Same thing with gold. Pearl gold was new this year, and it was great seeing it used to good effect. Again, we know later on they got very stingy with gold. As we went into 2009, when sets like Maranui, who really should have been gold, didn't get it. And then with G2, oh my god, they overdid the gold. It was spammed into everything. But here, there was a nice healthy balance in 2006, where, again, it was one of the metallic shades they used. And in fact, we got a lot of new metallic shades. So silver brightened up this year as well. That was a new color. It was interesting because when I got Thok, my Thok set had the new silver, while my Vizok had the old silver. So there was lots of overlaps here, with just kind of, I guess, where they were changing the shade. And actually gunmetal grey this year changed as well. It was 2006 onwards, gunmetal's a lot less green than the gunmetal that we saw back in 2003. I really like the dual function weapons. Those are cool. The introduction of the Skakti arm allowed for that, and I think that allowed for, and that in itself felt like a nice neat little function, sort of a throwback to the Metru and the Nuva, you know, having dual function weapons, though less so. It's not like, you know, a sword becomes a board. It's more like a blade becomes a gun sort of thing. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that's common between all of these guys. Oh, it sounds silly, but I really like the bolt through the forehead that they all have as a technic beam. I've seen people criticize that, like, oh, why is their axle sticking out? I kind of like it. It's like a Frankenstein thing. And I think even with the again, non-canon, the Piraka animation with the how you can see all of these spines on like a factory line rack and then it gets plugged in. Really like that visual. It just kind of makes these guys seem a bit more like monstrous. Okay, I have really waffled on. Jesus Christ, 20 minutes, about 20 minutes of talking about backstory on these guys. But okay, let us get to it. Who is my least favorite of the Piraka? My least favorite would be Raak. Oh, that is not Raak. My least favorite is Raak. Why is Raak my least favorite? Let me talk about the positives of Raak. That is Thok. Let's talk about my positives on Raak. Raak is cool in a lot of ways. I really like his head. I've spoken about in previous previous ranking videos, that it feels like the Earth and Stone characters have something always a little bit different. They always have something extra, or have extra pieces or do something different, right? In this wave, I feel like that different element that they had was that both the Stone and the Earth characters had like two spines in a sense. Like Raak has a double spine all the way through, and Avac, his is a little bit more subtle, but he has little tiny spines that kind of also, they aren't doubled up like this, but they kind of alternate. Really massive stretch. I don't think it even counts, but Raak has a very, very unique spine considering he has it going down in a wave of 2. I really like his chin, massive Giga Chad jaw here. Love the expression he gets across in his face as well. It is really cool. In the prototypes, of course, he had this third eye. I think they still wanted to get that across here. I still believe that, I guess the intention is he does have 3 eyes. It's just obviously that's filled out. It's like the Akaku, where it's like, yeah, we imagine that there's light coming out of it. And yeah, his spine is pretty neat. I like the gold and the black. It's funny because in this picture it doesn't look like his secondary color is grey. He looks like he is just gold and black, and I think that would have been better. Because the reason Raak is in my last place is because of the grey. One of the great things about the Piraka is they brought back or introduced uncommon colors, which was cool. Raak has none of that. Obviously the pearl gold is new, right? New this year, that's good, but that's not unique to him. Him having dark grey as a color scheme pisses me off, because it's like, we've just had the Metro years. Sick to death of grey. Sick to death of grey. I'm over it. Go away, grey. I don't want to see it again. And especially for an Earth character, it's a bit old hat. Like, every Earth Canister set actually has had dark grey to this point. Onua, secondary color dark grey. Nuvok, secondary color of dark grey. Onua Nuva, secondary color of dark grey. Nuvok Carl doesn't. Fair play. Doesn't have it. Wenua, secondary color dark grey. I'm forgetting the black Vaki's name. Secondary color dark grey. Wenua Hodika, dark grey. Onurak, I think is how you pronounce the Vizok, doesn't have dark grey. So of all the Earth sets, 2 of them don't have dark grey as a secondary color. So Raak adds to that list, and it's like, it's a bit of a shame. It just feels like a waste. And considering the sand colors coming back this year, my theory is, had LEGO not axed the sand purple or sand red colors years ago, that Raak would have got sand purple. I truly believe if that was still a color at this time, given the precedent set by the other sets, that he would have got sand purple. And bringing sand purple to Bionicle would have been cool, especially because purple has been gone. It was just axed with a lot of the other colors LEGO axed. So yeah, I guess there's probably just as much argument that original purple could have come back. But again, given the sand theme that a lot of the Piraka had, I could have seen Raak with a secondary color of sand purple, and it would have been a very kind of, because it's actually a kind of grayish color. Another thing as well, because again, there's not too much that separates these guys apart, because they are pretty similar in design, is his weapon. His weapon is cool. It's just on the lower end of cool. Again, the drill looks perfectly functional. It's not like badass or anything. It just looks like a normal standard drill. The buzzsaw is cool. He kind of has like a flower staff. So yeah, just lame to get a grey color scheme in such a colorful wave. And his weapon isn't one of the best, which is a shame. His face is better than some of the others, I would say. Probably the next entry in this list, I think Raak beats him out on his spine and face design. It's just that, yeah, again, he's the most boring from other aspects. He has the clawed feet. Obviously, the Piraka have 2 variants. I like both of these feet. Both of them have their place. I think overall these ones are more versatile, but the other ones have more connection points. I'm not sure which I prefer. But yeah. I think that's probably all I have to say about Raak. Again, there's not. I think I waffled on a lot, but when it comes to actually talking about these individual sets, there's not going to be that much to talk about. So yeah, Raak goes to my last place. He's always sort of been the worst to me. I actually think reducing his color and actually giving us, you know, the secondary color of just black, like it is in this picture, would have been cooler for him. Black and gold, pretty neat. Okay. In my 5th place, there's some debate here. So I'll cover the two that I think are fighting for 5th place in my book, and that would be Hakan and Vizok. Hakan is pretty cool. I think bringing Mada Red back as a secondary color, having a lot of the kind of the classic pieces that we were using at this point, not classic pieces, I guess the standard pieces that we're using a lot of, such as the Metru thigh and the Vizok bones and stuff in Mada Red, and the Metru hips was really good to get. Again, at this point, the default red guy color was dark red, so it was nice having that being included as sort of a throwback. Given the fact that the brown Vizok had Mada Red as its secondary color, and was kind of more of a bold color scheme, sort of takes a little bit of the wind out of Hakan's sails, a little bit. I think it still really works for him. I said previously that I think in an alternate universe he would have had sand red as his secondary color if LEGO still had that about. Yeah, so interesting enough. But it is nice. It just feels a little less special. His weapon is one of my favorites. I think it's my 2nd favorite weapon of this wave. Very cool. And again, getting gunmetal in a canister set at this point felt very fresh as well. So it's very, very neat. And I do really like the way that gunmetal and dark red looks together. I've said this before. I feel like Tahu Nuva in the Miramax movies really, his silver was closer to gunmetal actually. I like his spine. It's one of the more generic spines. I think the more generic, it's like Hakan, Thok, and Vizok have the quote-unquote more standard spines, while Zaktan, Avac, and Raak have like a little bit more going on with their spines. His face is cool, but I will say, I think Hakan has the most boring face of all the Skakti. Every other Skakti seems to have a little something that's really unique about him, and they all do, but Hakan to me always felt like almost a version of Vizok's. You know, he's got little protrusions on his chin. Again, with the spine shape. He doesn't have webbed spines like Vizok, because Vizok has webbed spines and sort of like an aquatic sort of look to him. And he almost has like these kind of extra little horns. But his face, again, it just does another chin protrusion thing that Vizok does. And I guess I'll just shift to Vizok. Vizok does it better. I think Vizok has a stronger face. I think he has very defined cheekbones. The web spines really give him like an abomination kind of lizard aquatic fin look to him. It's more unique than Hakan, for sure. The fact that he brings back sand blue, a color we hadn't seen since 2003, is really good. Getting the modern roster of parts in sand blue was great. Again, I feel like Hakan has a worse version of this face. It's not the same face, but like if I was going to compare any of the Skakti similarities, those two are the closest, and Vizok just does it a lot better. Yeah, and it has a far more defined face. He has more of a Chad face, and the chin bubbles, his chin pimples are better. The problem with Vizok, I guess, is, because I've kind of touched on most of what I think about him here, silver is a little bit less exciting than gunmetal, for sure. And also his weapon. His weapon is boring. He's the poster child of this wave, and has such a great face. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this weapon. Harpoons are just not that interesting. I know it's a real water style weapon. But yeah, it's not as cool as Hakan's. And I think with Hakan and Thok having an extra piece in a wave that are very similar makes them feel special. I like the fact that he has this like implied laser blast coming out. That's cool. So his weapon is leagues ahead of what I think of Vizok's. But I think the strength of Vizok's spine and the fact that he has sand blue does make him better than Hakan, in my opinion. Hakan is really cool, but I think with the color stuff and the less impressive spine, I think Hakan can go into 5th. And Vizok can go into 4th. I think that's fair. Like, I almost wish if like Vizok had gunmetal and had a better weapon, he would be maybe even higher. But yeah, his weapon's boring. And yeah, interestingly, all the clawed feet guys are at the bottom. I do see that as like the more iconic Piraka foot, but yeah, and but apparently the wide foot guys are winning. It's almost like how with the Anika ranking, like the wide-bodied guys ended up at the top, even though I think probably overall I tend to prefer builds with the narrow Anika armor. Okay, in my 5th slot, that is Vizok, go away. My 5th slot, I'm actually going to put Zaktan. Zaktan that is not a picture of Zaktan. Do I have a picture of Zaktan? Yes, Zaktan is really cool. Even in story, he's fantastic. I love the fact that, you know, he's clued into Makuta's plan. He understands what's going on with the antidermis. The protodytes thing, like, he was already a mutant even before they started tinkering with the Skakti. The gold and the green is a very bold color scheme. We had it before with like Iruni, but with the new gold, it really pops. I think I do prefer pearl gold to the classic bronze sets. A bronze gold that they had before. I'm all for variety, so the more shades of gold that we have, the better. I just think that color is very bronzy. Like, I think we could have had bronze and gold, and I think sets like Likan and Nuva, we all sort of picture them with this type of gold, and obviously the marketing, especially with Likan. If you look at Likan's box art, they very much misrepresented his gold. But yeah, gold and green is a very great color scheme. He has sand green, which was a brand new color to Bionicle at this point, and I believe is the only set that had it. It's kind of rare to get in Constraction. I think we've got a few sand green parts in the Ben 10 sets, but in G1, as far as I remember, this was the only time sand green was used, which is a shame because it's great, and it's cool that it was used here in such a good way, and the fact that we got such a complete set of bones, like every type of bone with it, was very, very good. His spine, very cool, very reptilian. Even his face is very reptilian. His jaw is great. I like the way that the chin almost has like a slot designed for this nose. In my nose video, I'm like, is this a nose? The fact that the chin has like a receiving slot makes it seem like it's part of his upper jaw. I don't know. Again, these guys are not analogous to earth animals or anything like that, so whatever goes. So again, really unique face here, really defined face, very cool. His weapon is great as well. I think it's one of the only weapons that don't have like an implied projectile side to them. That's not true. That's actually not true. I'm just trying to think. Avac doesn't have a projectile, and Raak doesn't have a projectile. Yeah. But very cool. The 3 scissor blade is pretty iconic. I like his little pinchy side. It's funny because this little pincher bit, you can almost see that where that's come from previous pieces, and you can kind of see that emulated later on and stuff like the matoran arm. I really do love the continual piece continuity that G1 did. It was very, very good. But yeah, again, not much to say about him. He's just pretty damn neat. Again, brand new color, great face, great weapons. I just think I like the next entry's face better. And that's really all I can say, because this is a really strong entry. So Zaktan goes there. Next, I'm putting Avac. Avac is pretty cool. I love the fact that we went back to a darker shade of brown for a final hurrah. This was the last brown canister set, and I think they did a very good job at it. This is the equivalent of Pohatu brown. Similar to the fact that, you know, the greys changed from old grey to new grey, and a lot of colours changed. This reddish brown is the equivalent new colour of Pohatu brown, which I think was nice, really nice here. I really like the inclusion of dark tan. Again, dark tan didn't really appear in G1 again. We got a few G2 sets with dark tan that used it horribly. Terribly. I think the dark tan usage in G2 was fucking awful. Pohatu uniter, disgusting. It randomly ended up in the Scorpion build as well. And we get it in Star Wars as well. The Star Wars sets used it better. But yeah, really like dark tan. Very underrated color. And it's very grounded and works perfectly as a stone color. Avac uses that greatly. And again, good to get a full set of it. Really nice color. Both of his colors. So I guess technically both are new colors to Bionicle. Same thing with the newer shader. Gunmetal is great. Again, gives him very muted, which I think is good. His weapon is probably the weirdest of all of them. It's really janky. Like, I get this is like a jackhammer pile driver on this side. I get that. Again, seeing that sort of what would become the Matoran limb thing here. This back end is weird. What the hell is that? Looking at it from this picture, it almost kind of looks like half a chainsaw. But it's... yeah. His arm also doesn't flip properly. I actually believe in the instructions you build it like this. So the open area where you can usually do like every other one's weapon swap works is here. So technically that's some variation that he has that the other Piraka don't. And again, even that adds to the weirdness of what's going on. I think that's there so this spike can go in there. But I think it's his face. The wide face is just so unique. And I think that's what was cool about getting these different spines, is they kind of inferred different personalities and different vibes. And like, I like in the game and the minifig, they actually kind of filled this mouth out to give him a giant mouth. Again, not achieved in the Canister set due to the fact that it's locked to one piece. I don't know, it just gives him a lot of personality. I imagine this guy's like a bit of a bigger guy. And I think with even the shorter spines kind of lends to that look. See, Avac has, again, in the story, Avac's a bit of he's a weapons expert, and I think without his weapons, he's a bit of a coward. So yeah, I don't know. The face is very good. It adds to almost like a unique body type and visual character type that we haven't seen in Bionicle, and I think just this color scheme is really, really strong. And I think, again, gunmetal works as a stony color to me. It was good that I think it was a good use to give that to the Huki subsequently. And yeah, just, he has a little bit more of a unique spine. All of the Skakti except for Zaktan have like the longer spines, so just to see some variety within them is very cool. So yeah, cool colors, really great face. And I think maybe some of my stone bias is coming in here. But it's pretty close between him and Zaktan, to be honest. But yeah, I just think Avac overall, I like his vibe. And just as a nice last hurrah to Brown, he gets my second spot. And then finally, we have Thok. Thok. Fucking hell. He is cool. He is very neat. I love Thok in a lot of ways. Thok's face is maybe very standard, but his face is diabolical. The personality you get in this face is fantastic. Just a giant chin. He's almost got like this. They're not beards, but like it's like this. There's just so much personality that comes from this face. He just looks menacing. He looks like he's gonna. I don't know. But I'm trying to think of the word for it. He just looks... diabolical is the right word. He looks so nefarious and evil. But, like, he's loving it. It's such a great face. And I'd argue he has the most boring spine. His spine is just spikes. But there's just that face does so much heavy lifting. He just looks like he's relishing in evil. It's just... I don't know what this Ron Perlman-ass Skakti is, but he just looks great. Thok... its weapon is my favorite of the bunch as well. I really like that insert. I love the Takanuva blade half and the kind of the gun half. Great. He's another one that has a weird, unique build quirk that isn't shown in the pictures. Similar to Huki. If you actually look in the instructions, his thighs are supposed to be built this way. His secondary color is light blue. Light blue is not that new of a color, considering, it was the go-to blue set secondary color, and in fact the last wave of Vizok, the blue set, also had this. However, he mixes up. His primary color is new. His primary color is I think it's called stone gray or stone white. Never seen in Bionicle before. Barely seen in Lego. The only other set I know that has it, that I have, is Mindstorms. The first time they moved to the NXT Mindstorms style had this color in Technic pieces. Don't know why. Cool. It's different. It's new. I think that was a very bold choice, and I like it. Again, not everything has to be brilliantly white, and I also think it adds to a nice contrast so his teeth aren't the same color as his skin. Because then obviously the head is standard white. It means we get a bunch of recolors here. We get a Metru limb recolored as well. It's weird because, again, that color never reappeared, so a lot of these pieces never got recolored in white. I'm not sure we ever got any of his pieces recolored in white, come to think of it. Which is very weird, considering these pieces all lived a long life. So, very odd that we never actually got any of those recolored, but it is what it is. It works really well for this set. I think I really like his thing in the Piraka animations. Again, the sofa, the blowing of the gum shit. Like, again, people are going to be like, yeah, that's corny as hell. I found it charming. I found it cool. Again, that spare Zamor was like stuck to my Thok face for years. The hammer couch thing. I love all of those animations. I really like them. And not only that, but I think 2006, by doing those very heavily characterized things, was starting to pave the way for things like the 2007 Mari mini movie and then the 2008 mini movie as well. One of my biggest regrets, it's not a regret of mine, but one of those things I really wanted was a 2006 mini movie. It would have been amazing. What we got from the commercial already, the Inika commercial was amazing. The Piraka commercial was amazing. Considering 2006 didn't get a Miramax movie or a mini movie, makes me feel sad because it feels like these guys were geared up for it. Again, if you need to make a movie version of the Piraka, he's already got a mouth and teeth. Give him some fingers and you've basically got a movie version of this character. So much of the heavy lifting is done. But yeah, another thing with Thok, I guess I didn't really touch on it. The Piraka are one of those characters that low-key are kind of OP. Thok's vision power is actually he can bring inanimate objects to life. What? That's cracked. Why does he need the Mask of Life? One of Thok's powers is life. What the fuck is that? Like, his vision power is he can bring things to life. I'm pretty sure, like, the Piraka stronghold comes to life. It's alive bullshit from the commercial briefly happens because of Thok. I might be wrong on that. It might be the Piraka fusion that included Thok that did that. But still, Thok has life powers, partially. Insanity. What the fuck? But yeah. Again, these sets don't have too much to talk about because they're pretty simple. But yeah, that's why Thok is just number one due to such a fantastic, just overall vibe. He's got the best weapon of the bunch. On the surface level, if you don't own the set and you don't know he is a different shade of white, he seems to have maybe one of the more boring color schemes, but actually it's one of the boldest. And then, yeah, just that face. Nothing's beating that face. Thok's face is goated. But yeah, that's my list. Pretty basic with these guys just because they are so similar in build. I think in terms of their story relevance and character relevance, obviously I've talked a lot about that. Maybe I'll do a 2006 video of why 2006 low-key was like the GOAT year of the post-classic era. I think it did so much more. Not so much more, but it did a lot to kind of bridge the old era and the new era, including so many elements while making so many changes to the world that didn't feel like it was just stacking on top or erasing previous canon. It was building on previous canon. And I think some of the changes later on in Bionicle I felt like were messing with the canon and changing things in a worse way, while everything 2006 did was positive in terms of what it changed and built on and added. But again, that's time for that's for another video. Thanks for watching, guys. It'd be good to know your rankings in the comments. I don't know if anything here is necessarily a hot take. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. More videos coming soon. And yeah, enjoy your day. Bye.